Hello and welcome back to the Garland Farms channel. Today we're going to be doing part 3 of Vegans Mess with the Bull, Get the Horns. This is a reaction to a reaction by Carson over at Reasonable Vegan, where he brought in a pseudo-intellectual by the name of Quade Rowan, who tried to debunk my video called The Harmful Vegan War on Leather, Wool, and Fur. I will leave a link to the video over on Reasonable Vegan's channel, and you can find part 1 and 2 of Vegans Mess with the Bull, Get the Horns over in the live section of my channel. Let's get into it.
Well, my bigger problem with this, and it's the same problem I brought up last time when I was talking about, well, what about the plight of the slaughterhouse workers? And I said, one of the things I said in response to like the whole debate about slaughterhouse workers and how much empathy we should have for them, like how much empathy would we have if we were talking about human children going through the slaughterhouse?
That's a good question, Quade. How much empathy would you have if these pigs were human children that had wandered out into the crops that produce the items on the vegan menu?
And again, it's like, I don't want to say I don't care about the sustainability issues. I mean, I do care about that. And again, it's like, I don't want to say I don't care about the sustainability issues. I mean, I do care about that. But at the same time, if we were talking about human skin, we would be having a much different conversation. And I don't think sustainability would be the thing we'd be debating the most. I don't think sustainability would be the thing we'd be debating the most.
This is a crop of rapeseed, and I've had a lot of comments saying, oh, it's a monocrop and it's been sprayed, blah, 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 blah. Vegan Gains has said recently that vegans shouldn't buy organic products because organic is not vegan.
The organic thing, that is something that you can choose to avoid. I'd avoid most organic produce because they do use a heavy reliance on manure. Not only is that just potentially dangerous because it's literal shit, but you are indirectly making it easier for the meat industry to be profitable. So for that reason, I'd say avoid organic.
If organic products are fertilized by manure, then there is obviously a buy-in to the animal farming industry. But if a product isn't organic and it's fertilized by another means, then what is that other means? What is that other means?
I don't think sustainability would be the thing we'd be debating the most. I don't think sustainability would be the thing we'd be debating the most. I don't think sustainability would be the thing we'd be debating the most.
What is that other means?
All of these debates are premised on the idea that animals just don't matter, that their pain doesn't matter, their suffering doesn't matter. We're just going to have this debate over what's more harmful to the environment or what works out better for humans. And very, very clearly, like, vegans want to bring the discussion back to what impact is this actually having on the beings whose skin and fur you are and hair you are harvesting. Animals just don't matter, that their pain doesn't matter, their suffering doesn't matter. Animals just don't matter, that their pain doesn't matter, their suffering doesn't matter. So, back in the day, we were talking a little bit before about Christianity, and back when I was Catholic, I was pro-life, and this was some years ago, not really my position today, but there was a pro-life apologist.
The irony of a vegan being an anti-life apologist.
Who I always thought he put the issue very clearly, very well, and he said something like if abortion is not murder, then no justification for it is necessary. And if abortion is murder, then no justification for it is possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would say this in response to pro-choice people who would bring out, what about this impact? What about that impact of outlawing abortion? And he would always bring it back to that core issue, and try to get you to take a position. Is it murder? Is it not murder?
Mm-hmm.
And it was these days I would come down firmly on the side of it's not.
Vegan logic. Abortion is not murder. Killing a rabbit to eat it is murder. Killing a rabbit to protect the crops that produce the items on the vegan menu is pest control.
For reasons we can discuss another time. Vegans get into that debate as well. The whole
It's one of my favorite topics, and I think we could cover it well for my other channel.
Talking about it on your Facebook page some time ago. It was a long time ago, maybe last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be a whole other discussion.
But I like the idea that it's covering like the idea of it costs too much money to raise a kid or this or that. Like if it's wrong, then that part doesn't matter, and if it's right, then you don't need that argument.
Right. And I don't know if I would go so far as to say that if it's wrong, then none of that stuff matters at all. But if it's wrong, I do think that that's where we need to spend most of our time. If it's wrong, then whatever benefit that you're claiming to get out of it had better be really proportionate to the wrongness you are endorsing.
You mean like the wrongness of endorsing a diet that causes essential vitamin and mineral deficiencies?
And I think when it comes to things like whether it's meat and dairy, whether it's fur, leather, or whatever, the benefits, the fact that there are alternatives, the fact that the benefits that we get from it, we wouldn't make those arguments again if it was human skin we were talking about. We'd say, wait a minute, we can't do that to human beings. I don't care what benefits you get. I don't care if it is more biodegradable to use human skin than these plastic, fake, whatever products. We just don't do that to human beings. Okay, why not? And then I'd like to get into that double standard.
Oh, you mean like the vegan double standard, that it's not okay to kill animals to eat them, but it's perfectly okay to kill them as long as you're protecting the crops that produce the items found on the vegan menu.
Why animal suffering, pain and suffering doesn't matter. Why it's okay to, if you ever watch the videos of how they get wool at some of these places, why it's okay to just torture these animals.
Vegan logic. Shooting an animal in the face for wandering into the crop fields that produce the items on the vegan menu is mockable, something to be laughed at. Giving a sheep a haircut is pure torture.
To rip them apart while they are still alive and breathing, while they are screaming in pain, while blood is everywhere. I don't want to get too graphic in these descriptions because that's something I try to avoid. I don't like to see that stuff on my timeline because I've seen it already. But it's very graphic. It's very disturbing. And that is a sentient creature that is experiencing pain in more or less the same way we would.
Hey, Quaid, you think these pigs that are being shot in order to protect the crops to produce the items on the vegan menu, do you think that they feel pain the way we would?
Maybe without some kind of existential thought about the meaning of the pain or whatever, as if that somehow makes the pain any better or worse. But on a physical level, are experiencing that pain. If somebody came up to you and just started ripping your beard out of your face, that feeling is what they would feel if you just, when you go up to them and you start, doing the things that I've seen done to them in these videos.
Oh, you mean like the things that are done to the animals that are unfortunate enough to find themselves living in the crop fields that produce the items on the vegan menu?
So unless you have some kind of dominionist theology that God put the animals here for us to abuse and torture, and therefore their pain doesn't matter or whatever, some kind of, and I don't think that's necessitated by Christianity, but I hear that stuff a lot. Well, that's why God put them here, or even worse, they're not moral agents, or whatever stupid argument you've come up with to rationalize, that kind of pain and suffering.
Oh, you mean like the stupid things that vegans say when they try to rationalize the killing of animals in order to protect the crops that produce the items on the vegan menu?
So when most people talk about crop deaths, we have to laugh at them, right? Most crop deaths things are ridiculous.
Well, I'd rather at least talk about that, because once we've settled that issue, then it doesn't really matter what you get out of it, unless it's a question of survival. I mean, again, and we've talked about this before, and vegans are always talking about it. Well, if it's a question of survival, then we can make some exceptions and we can be a little more flexible.
That's just a little sneak peek at the vegan rationalization for shooting animals in the face or feeding them poison in order to protect the crops that produce the items found on the vegan menu.
But when it's clearly not, and this is a multi-billion-dollar industry, it's a profit-driven industry. So I don't want to hear about humane this and that, because you're not going to have truly humane standards when things are, everything's geared up for efficiency and maximizing profits.
Oh, you mean like how the crop agriculture industry that produces the items on the vegan menu doesn't have humane standards because it's set up for efficiency and maximizing profits?
I don't, that's where we need to have the discussion at. So I think there was one other thing. Unless you want to jump in, I got one other.
No, go for it. Yeah, you're fine.
Okay, one other critique to make was that towards the end of the video, Garland Farms was kind of said in passing that these environmentally harmful materials that vegans would want to make us all use by force.
Oh, this is interesting. He doesn't deny that he would violently force everyone to be vegan. He just tries to rationalize his position. Listen.
Even he threw in this thing about force. So we want to force people to do things. And apart from in my view, just utter hypocrisy, when your whole way of life depends upon forcing these animals to do things that they don't want to do, to suffer pain that they would not otherwise want to suffer. No animal wants to suffer the way that people like him would want to make them suffer.
Yeah, now he's publicly slandering me by claiming that I want animals to suffer. Meanwhile, the animals that are on my farm are in absolute heaven.
But apart from that hypocrisy, I just wanted to say, like, if I was the supreme dictator and I was going to impose my will on everyone, we'd all be doing the biodegradable stuff and not the stuff he was critiquing in the video. The nylon, the acrylic, the spandex, and all of that. Like, no, I wouldn't use force for that. If I was going to use force, I'd have you all wearing hemp robes, and wearing cactus leather and stuff like that is actually biodegradable and better for the environment.
Well, yeah, except cactus leather is not biodegradable. Polyurethane makes up most of the finished product.
That's what I would force you to do if I was going to use force, although, I'm not necessarily endorsing that either. Those were my thoughts on his video.
Gotcha. Okay, so...
Okay, that's going to wrap up today's part 3 of Mess with the Bull, Get the Horns. I just want to go ahead and point out again that most of these vaping liquids are made of vegetable glycerin derived from palm oil. Palm oil is the most common type of vegetable oil where the glycerin is derived from. And we know that the palm industry is actually causing major amounts of deforestation and threatening all types of animals with extinction, including the orangutan. And so just because you're using vegetable glycerin doesn't mean that it's not causing animal suffering and death. But we know all about the vegan double standards. To everyone else, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on part 4 of Mess with the Bull, Get the Horns.